Okay, so as you can see, we're out on the river today and we're doing a bit of pike fishing, and I want to talk to you about a lure that I normally always turn to at this time of the year when the water's cold. Okay, so like I mentioned, we're out on the river today. The water's very cold. It is now starting to clear, but it's been very, very coloured recently. The pike aren't really in the feeding mood. They're laying up a little bit, but I want a lure that's going to be easy for them to eat, and I want a lure that's going to attract them and wake them up. And that is why I've gone for the Rattlin Slider. Now there's a few reasons I like this Rattlin Slider. First of all, it's the 8cm size. Now I really like the 8cm size. For me, it's just the perfect snack size. It's a small roach, small skimmer, something like that these pike are eating. And for me, at this time of year, it's all about small baits of pike. They don't want to be feeding on massive baits. You know, yes, they are chasing bream shoals around, but I just find 9 times out of 10, small baits like that will get you more bites. Okay, so as the name suggests, this is a slider, but it's the Rattlin version. Now, if I was fishing for pike in a big open space or wherever, but there wasn't a lot of bait fish around, I would definitely use a normal slider. I wouldn't use the Rattlin Slider. However, these bait shoals in this river are huge, and I want my lure to stand out in amongst all that bait. I don't want it to get lost in it, if you know what I mean. So I like the Rattlin Slider, and plus there's been a bit of colour in the river, so it just helps single out that lure, and those pike can just home in on it and yeah, eat it hopefully. Now with the Rattlin Slider, especially this 8cm, what you're getting is quite a slow fall. So what I can do with that is fish it quite slowly. Okay, I can give it some taps, give it some action, then let it pause, let it sink slowly to the bottom, and then I can just tap it back up a couple of feet off the deck and let it sink down again. And I think that's the key to fishing these sort of baits for pike at this time of year when the water's cold. You don't want to be moving them quick. You don't want anything that you have to retrieve really quickly to keep it up off the bottom. You want something you can work up, let it sink down. You know, we're looking at 6 to 8 foot on this system, so it's perfect for that. Like I said, just work it up, let it sink down slowly, and I think it's that little pause, that little break in the retrieve, and that's what gets them interested, and that's what gets them to bite. Okay, so if you haven't ever fished a slider before, they're an absolutely beautiful action in the water. They've got a lovely gliding, side-to-side action that you can fish either quite slowly or quite aggressively, and that's one of the reasons I like this little lure. I can be quite versatile with it. So the first way to retrieve this, and probably the easiest, is just using the reel handle itself. It's just a simple case of casting the lure out, letting it sink down to the depth you want it, and then depending on the speed of your reel, but around a quarter or a half a turn of your reel will get that lure working, and you're just looking for half a turn, let it pause. Another half a turn, let it pause. Another half a turn, let it pause. And that's absolutely perfect motion, that is, to get this lure working exactly how it should be used. The second way I like to do it is with the rod tip. The advantages to doing it with the rod tip are you can be slightly more aggressive with it. You can cast it out again, let it sink down, but what you can actually do is you can then double tap it. So I'm getting really aggressive with the rod tip and then letting it pause. The lure is really going crazy and then pausing and then slowly falling. Then as it's going to get near the bottom, you can then give it a nice twitch again and then let it sink down again. And like I said, in that respect, it's a nice lure because it's quite versatile. You can fish it slow, which is what we're doing mainly today, but also you can fish it aggressively. And it doesn't sink overly fast, so like I said, you can fish it in relatively shallow water as well, which is perfect. And like I've mentioned, I'm using the 8cm version today, but they do also come in 11 and 15 centimetres. So depending on, like I said, what style of fishing you're doing, there are bigger sizes available. The 15 centimetre nice big lure that's ideal for big pike on big waters, getting their attention on massive waters. But like I said, this 8cm one for me is just the perfect perfect match to a lot of the roach and little tiny skimmers that are in these rivers. Okay, so when it comes to colour of these lures, there's a whole host of colours, some really awesome looking colours out there. However, I've picked 3 of my favourites that I tend to use, and they seem to just cover all situations really. The first is this awesome looking bleeding blue shad. Lovely blue colour to it, a bit of silver underneath. It's just got a little bit of red at the front and back of it, the tail and the nose of the lure. And I'm convinced that little bit of red, that little flash of red, just gets them excited as well. But yeah, lovely red eye, lovely like sort of chrome style blue finish, catches the light nicely. Yeah, this lure is great in all conditions really. I use it a lot of the time. Another one of my absolute favourites, and to be honest, this is an absolute classic colour in general, and that's redhead. This is a holographic red striper. Again, got kind of a chromy mirrored finish. Catches the light perfectly, got that classic red head, a little bit of red down the back as well, which is slightly different to a lot of lures. And normally they'd be white with the red head, but this has got that red down the back of the white under the belly. And I guess again, that red is just an absolute classic pike colour, with that chromy mirrored finish. It just catches the sunlight or whatever light you're in, catches that light absolutely perfectly. And then last but not least, bright perch. Again, just a really in-your-face colour, red down the back again, a bright yellow down the side, perch pattern on it, but I wouldn't say it's very natural. It's quite bright, but the amount of times, and I say this with all my perch fishing, my pike fishing, the amount of times I switch to a completely different coloured lure. You might have put a really natural one through 10 times, first cast with something like this, and they nail it. And I just think it doesn't matter that it doesn't look natural. I just think it's that change. They've seen something a few times come through the swim, and then they hit it when it's a different colour. And like I said, this bright perch, absolute winner. You know, you can use that in coloured water. It's obviously got the rattles in it, so that's got everything going for it. That one, nice and bright, nice and loud. And if the pike are really having it in the feeding, they're going to nail that every time. So there we go, that's the Rattlin Slider in my favourite size, the 8cm size. Perfect little snack for a pike. And like I said, at this time of the year, when things are slow, it's the perfect lure to get out there, work really slow, get a few extra bites and enjoy your pike fishing.